What happens to your recyclables after you put your blue or gray box out on the curb on collection day? A lot of work goes into keeping recyclables out of the landfill and making sure that they get turned back into useful products. We're going to take you through all of the steps that go into the recycling process, from collection in front of your house all the way through to when recyclables get ready to be made into new products. The recycling process begins in your home. Throughout the week, you collect water bottles, pop cans, yogurt tubs, newspapers, and plastic bags and store them in your kitchen or garage. The water bottles and pop cans, along with all of your other steel, plastic, and aluminum containers, go into your blue box. The newspapers and plastic bags, along with your other papers like magazines, computer paper, and cardboard, with your gray box. By collecting papers separate from plastic, steel, and aluminum containers, we make sure that the recyclables come to the plant as clean as possible. Collecting the blue and gray boxes on alternative weeks saves the city more than $180,000 a year, as collectors can make more stops in a day. On recycling collection day, you bring your blue or gray box to the curb at 6 a.m. to be collected. But what happens from here? When the recycling collector pulls up in front of your house, the sorting process begins for your recyclables. At the curb, the collector sorts recyclables by hand into different parts of the truck. The side part of the truck is called the hopper. From blue boxes, clear glass is put into one part of the hopper, colored glass into another part, and all the other recyclables into a third part. Once the hopper gets full, the collector dumps it into the top of the truck. The recyclables will stay in here until the truck is full. Then, the collector drives back to the recycling plant, called the Kingston Area Recycling Center, or KARC, and gets on the scales to weigh the truck. The collector drives the truck on a large flat scale. It is connected to a computer run by a scale house operator, which records the weight of the truck. The collector stops on the scales again after he has unloaded all of the recyclables to get his tare weight, the weight of the truck when it is empty. The computer subtracts the first weight from the tare, or empty weight, and we now know how many pounds of recyclables were brought in. In 2009, just less than 19 million pounds of recyclables were collected from the curbs of Kingston, equal to 860 full trucks of recycling. Now the recyclables are dumped onto the tipping floor. First, cardboard is dumped from the separate hopper on the truck onto its own small separate floor. Cardboard is separated from papers because it often comes in big pieces and can cause problems on the sorting line. The recycling plant has two separate sorting areas, one for blue box and another for gray box materials. The collector first goes to the papers or gray box side of the recycling plant. Once backed into the tipping floor, the back of the truck tips up and the papers fall out onto the tipping or storage floor. From here, the material is pushed onto the conveyor belt by a small truck with a scoop called a wrangler. Those newspapers and cereal boxes are now going on to the next part of the journey, the sorting room. The papers climb up the conveyor belt into the sorting room, where they are sorted by hand by recycling staff. Recyclables need to be separated by the type of material they are made out of. Each person on the sorting line collects a specific item off the line. One picks off cardboard, another boxboard, things like cereal and cracker boxes, another plastic bags, and another garbage. The items are dropped into the bunker, or storage space, underneath their feet. The conveyor is fast, and staff must be quick to separate all of the items properly. Newspapers and white papers are sorted through a negative sort. That means any non-paper items are picked off the line, leaving only newspaper and white paper at the end. Those fall off the end of the line into their own bunker. In 2009, more than 13 million pounds of newspaper and white paper were brought to the recycling plant, equal to the weight of 520 school buses. Let's see how blue box items, like water bottles and yogurt containers, are sorted. The blue box tipping floor is similar to the gray boxes. Recyclables are fed into the elevated sort room on the conveyor belt. The sorting process is a bit different on the blue box side of the plant, though. Before any recyclables are dealt with by hand, they pass under a large magnet. It picks up any steel cans that may be in your recyclables, like a soup can. This is why it is important not to put your blue box recyclables in plastic bags. If even one metal can is inside a plastic bag with other non-metal recyclables, the whole thing will be picked up by the magnet. Other recyclables are then sorted by hand. Number 1 screw-top plastics, like water and pop bottles or peanut butter jars. Number 2 plastics, like laundry detergent and shampoo bottles. Plastic tubs and lids, like margarine, sour cream, and yogurt containers. And styrofoam blocks and trays are picked off by hand and thrown down below into the bunkers. These plastics are separated according to their different polymers, or types of plastic. Plastics, like all other recyclables, need to be separated by type in order to be recycled. Now there are only 2 items left on the blue box sorting line: aluminum cans, like pop and juice cans, and garbage, things that people put in the blue box but that aren't actually recyclable. These are separated by a special conveyor belt called an eddy current or an eddy belt. It's a conveyor belt that moves so fast that the aluminum cans, due to their light weight, jump over the garbage bunker and into their own bunker. Garbage, because it is heavier, falls down into its own separate bunker. Did you notice that there is one blue box item missing from this side of the plant? Where's the glass that was sorted into a separate part of the recycling truck? Glass has its own separate area because it's dangerous to sort the glass by hand, and it can cause damage to plant equipment. Glass is emptied into a storage area outside of the plant. Clear glass is kept separate as possible from the colored glass, because if they mix during the recycling process, they create undesired colors. After being sorted, the recyclables are then pushed onto another conveyor belt by the truck with the scoop, the wrangler. This conveyor belt leads to a machine called the baler. The baler squishes all of the recyclables together and wraps a steel cable to hold it all together. Once enough recyclable material has been fed into the baler to make it a bale, it spits out a cube that measures about 3.5 feet tall by 3.5 feet wide. Once the bales of recyclables have been completed, a forklift then places them into storage. Now let's talk about glass again for a bit. Now that you've seen how recyclables are baled, you can understand why we wouldn't put glass through the baler. Instead, when it's ready to be sold, it is loaded by the Wrangler truck into the back of an open-top dump truck. Now the recyclables are ready for market. They will be sold to a company that will turn them into something new. Paper usually gets turned into new paper, like newspaper, toilet paper, and paper towels. But the benefit of recycling paper is great. Every ton of paper that gets recycled saves 17 trees from being cut down for use as virgin paper. Old pop and water bottles can be turned into fleece sweaters and blankets, or fiberfill, which is used for lining winter jackets. Laundry detergent and shampoo bottles can be turned into watering cans and plastic lumber, also known as plumber. Old styrofoam blocks and meat trays can be turned into children's toys, light switch covers, and baseboard moldings for your house. Steel cans are recycled into anything made out of steel, from new cans to refrigerators and car parts. Aluminum cans are usually turned back into new aluminum cans. These cans can be recycled over and over again without ever losing quality. In theory, they can be recycled forever. So now that you know all of the steps of the journey your recyclables go through, you can understand the importance of recycling and how much work goes into keeping recyclables out of the landfill.